Okay, so now that we've set those records up, we've done a basic insert and we've done a basic select, we can make things more interesting. One thing I didn't do with the select is just do a select that has a where clause. So the where clause is very similar to the relational algebra select clause. So you say select star from employee, and then I could say where. I could say where something like salary is greater than 1,000. So these are the employees that make the most money. Let's try using that. All right, and I've got two employees, the salesman and clerk in the same department that are making the big bucks. All right, so I said this already, it's a little tedious to do things this way if you're typing everything manually. So let's find a way to import lots of data and tables and all that stuff to mess around with things. So the first thing that you need is a data source. So what we're going to do is go to the course website, and then we're going to scale this, slide down here just a little bit and click on the Oracle Data Plus data file. So here's the sample data file. It's quite large. I'll just scroll through really quick. Wow, look at all that data. Lots of table setup and insert. We can sort of take a look at what's going on here just to get a little bit of an understanding. So the beginning of the data file, we're doing a lot of drop tables. And that's if your database has these tables already, we're dropping them, cleaning and clearing everything out so we can set up a brand new set of data. All right, so the first is the create table department. And it looks like we're going to create, insert 4 departments into that table, here, here, and here. Then we create an employee, and we're going to have a lot more employee data. Okay, I don't know how many that is, but there's quite a few employees there. And it's pretty cool because there's relationships between different employees. For example, there's a manager that's 7968, that's Blake, his employee number. And then if we scan down, we can see here, there's a salesman Martin, our buddy Alan, Turner, the clerk, the salesman. A lot of them work for the manager Blake, 7968. There's a bonus table. That is the employee name, job, salary, and commission information. Nothing goes in that table. There's a salary grade, which is kind of cool. There's a customer table. There's an order table. There's an item table. There's a product table. There's a price table. Here's a bunch of customers getting inserted. I'm getting excited here. There's a lot of cool stuff. Here's some orders from customers. Here's some items that are being ordered. So you have an order that consists of a bunch of items, and wow, there's a lot of items. There's price information about items, and there's some product information. Looks like we got a lot of tennis stuff here. And there's also some curious beasts here called sequence numbers. Those are kind of cool, and I'll talk more about them later, but what sequence numbers allow you to do is to basically have a kind of like a pseudo table that consists of a single attribute, and that attribute gets incremented by your choice. Here we've got something called order ID. It's incremented by 1, and it starts with 622. Product ID incremented by 1 starts with this huge number. Customer ID incremented by 1 starts with this number. And so what you can do is you can use those numbers and use them instead of generating numbers in your application. You're letting the database generate numbers for you. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's go back to Toad. But before we do that, let's copy all this information except, well, we'll copy all of it except for that first little bit, that set term out off and the host echo. Those are things that are specific to Oracle's command line interface to the database. We don't really want to do that. And what I'm going to do is create a new worksheet and just paste all this information on the new worksheet. I'm going to go to the top, and right here is the option to execute all statements in the worksheet as a script. So that's what we're going to do. Now, I'm going to get grief from all of these drop tables because none of that exists in Ben's database right now. So I'm going to delete those. But the employee table definitely exists. So now what I'm going to do is say execute everything, all these statements, and let's watch what happens to Ben's DBMS output. All right, you can see all the stuff executing here. There's some inserts. All the customers are getting inserted into the database now. Lots and lots and lots of orders are getting inserted. Items in an order. It's a lot of data related to that. And let's see. Still a lot of this item stuff. Hopefully that'll wrap up. Okay, we got some price information for various products, and now the product information is getting put in the database, and we've got some sequence numbers, and finally we have something called a view, which I'll talk about later in the course. It's basically, I talked about it briefly in class, but I'll talk about it in more detail later in the course. But the quick answer to what a view is it's sort of a table, but it doesn't actually exist as a true table in the database. But it lets you look at one or more tables spliced together as if they were a single table. So it can be really useful. Okay, wow. Well, we have created a large database with lots of juicy information. And now what are we going to do with this? We should do some queries. So let's start out, go back to our worksheet, and do the same thing. Select star from employee, and let's see what happens. Whoa, there's a lot more employees now. That's a lot. I wouldn't, to know exactly how many employees there are, I don't have to say select star from employee. I can do something else. I can say, hey, select count star from employee. So count star is very similar to the relational algebra aggregate operator count. So we're going to apply count to a select of everything from employee. So let's try executing that and see what happens. Oh, I see. It tried to execute both of these as two statements, giving an error because I didn't have a semicolon at the end of that statement. So when I tried to execute this statement, it thought that both this select and this select were one statement. All right, so let's try this again. Boop. There we go. So there's 14 employees. That's pretty cool. Now, what is the largest monthly salary? Well, that's a good question. Select max salary from employee. So again, we're going to use an aggregate operator, max, and let's see what happens. I like to see the result. Let's try again. It's not salary, it's sal. All right, there we go. Let's try that. So the max salary is 5,000. Now, what is the name of the employee who has that salary? Well, we can do this. Select let's see, it was ename from employee where sal is equal to select max sal from employee. This is a very special kind of query that you can do where we're taking the results that are normally considered a relation and we're comparing it to an attribute. And in relational algebra, you cannot do this. You're not allowed to do this. But in SQL, you're allowed to do it as long as you're sure that the select that you're doing returns a single value, then that single value can be compared to an attribute value. So let's run this and see what happens. Oh, it looks like King, appropriately named, is the employee that has the maximum salary. Now, how many times greater is the maximum salary to the biggest salary compared to the small salary? People are always doing that comparison. And so if you wanted to find that information, you want to use max and min. And I want to know how many times greater max salary is than min. So we're going to do some division. So I can say select max salary divided by min salary from employee. All right, and we'll run that. All right, so 6.25. That's not too bad. Not too bad. All right. Well, we've done a whole bunch of selects, so we'll stop here for the select segment. And but the next thing you might want to do is you might want to update some information related to employees. Now, the way you do that is through an update clause. We'll take a look at that in just a second.